Hello, I'm Shantae Barnes, and this is my husband Jermaine Barnes, and we are the co-founders of Barnes Brothers Books, a publishing company with the mission of bringing diverse books to all readers. I'm the CEO, and he's the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer. And the purpose of this video today is just to tell you a little bit about the why behind Barnes Brothers Books. So this year is my 14th year as an educator. The first 8 years, I was the English teacher, teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade English. 1 year I taught 9th grade creative writing. The next year I worked with mostly refugee students. I was an English learner teacher. The year after that, I was a literacy coach, an elementary literacy coach for 2 years. The next year I was a high school literacy coach, and I also taught high school English, 10th and 11th graders. Last year, I was an elementary librarian. This school year, I'm a middle school academic dean, and I supervise and evaluate all middle school English teachers, all middle school social studies teachers, and the art teacher. But if you think about the entirety of my career, the one theme that goes throughout it is literacy. And that is getting kids to read, getting kids passionate about reading, getting kids passionate about learning and learning about something outside. And the one thing I struggle with mostly in school as a student personally, and I think my husband could speak to this too, is a lot of times we would read about Black people or people that look like me, and we were an enslaved person in the story. We weren't the hero of the story. Did you experience that a little bit in school?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't really read a lot of books where a black male had a positive image. There was always something negative behind it. So I do agree with you that it's hard. I said male, but in general, just a positive theme or something other than a negative theme with people of color in the book.
Right. So being an English teacher, and for the majority of my career, I worked in an urban setting, and the majority of my students were students of color. Trying to get them to read the stuff that was in the textbook that was given to me, it was just like pulling teeth. So I would have to search and search and search for something for students to read to want them to engage in the story. And so now, fast forward, we are parents of identical twin boys who are currently in the third grade. And even now, them being in school, we are seeing the same things. And they were avid readers. They're in third grade and they're currently reading on the fifth grade level, which is awesome. But that was a lot of work on our part. Their first birthday party, on the invitation, we asked that the only thing that we wanted for gifts for books that featured Black characters. And most importantly, if possible, Black characters, Black author. Because a lot of times when, I don't want to say a lot of times, sometimes when the characters are Black, the author is not necessarily Black. Not saying that you can't write about people if that's not your culture, but it just makes it extra impactful when the author and both the character are of the same background. And that's how we really started that love of literacy, because our children had access to all these books where they could see themselves. But when I asked our family members, like, what did it take? Like, some said, I went from store to store to store to try to find a book, or find a book that just wasn't negative, or find a book that was just about Black people living life. And our children, the other thing that happened around first grade, our children were struggling with like the motivation to write. And being a teacher, I said, hey, we're gonna go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee for spring break this year. Both of you write about the trip. Well, but they both wrote, but my one son, like, could be a story. And Jeremiah, and so our company is named after our twin boys, Barnes Brothers Books. If you see our logo in the lower hand of this video, that's them. And so I said, go ahead and write this, and I looked, this is great. So that started our company, because I said, if we're gonna name this company after our sons, I think the first two books that we publish should be books from our sons. So My Family's Great Smoky Mountain Adventure is the very first book that our company published, and that was earlier in 2019. And then my other son had wrote a book that he had been working on for about a year called Ghost Text, and that book is a fiction book about three Black boys who all receive a text from a mysterious sender, and they have to figure out who is texting them and why. And one of them ends up in jeopardy, so how can they save their friend? And what I like about both of these stories, the first story is a nonfiction story. We're all listed on the book because we all took photographs. All our photographs are in the book. but it's just about a regular family taking a trip. I talked to a teacher that purchased a book. It was a white teacher, and she said, every time I pick a book just about families, a lot of times the families are white families. This was like one of the first books that I was able to find where it was just a regular black family going on a trip. And that may sound so simplistic, but those are the things that children of color are craving. And then when I think about Ghost Text, it's a story, and that's the other thing, both these stories are written by black males, written by children, and I always say to my students, you don't have to wait till you become an adult to follow your dreams. You don't have to wait. You can do it right now. And so Ghost Text is a mystery story of three black kids trying to solve a mystery. And if you think about all the mysteries like the Boxcar Children, Nancy Drew, those mystery books, the protagonist is white. And with that in mind, I said, I'm going to make this a thing. The model we follow is like a traditional publisher. We are not a vanity press. If you don't know what that means, people do not pay us for us to publish their book. We publish books just like a traditional publisher does. We don't charge anybody up front. But because some people know me also as Educator Barnes, I am an education writer and an editor. I do not edit the books for my company now. I have someone else that does that. But I always tell people we have a very keen eye for what we're looking for, so we don't accept everything that's sent to us because we want you guys to receive the best quality. And so this is the why, and I think the last thing I think we would say is leaving something for our children's children. Something that my husband and I are involved with was the D-Free program. It's no debt, no delinquency, no deficit. And part of that model, once you get to that place where you're eliminating debts, you want to leave something for your children's children. And so I think I'll let my husband talk to what our goals are with Barnes Brother Books moving forward in the future when, we get kind of older or more seasoned or whatever you want to call ourselves.
Yeah, so like my wife was stating, she's a big advocate for literacy, and with us going through the D-Free program, one of those main topics, I won't say main topic, but one of the key topics was, being able to have your own business. Now I've talked to a lot of people, and while owning your own business can be tough, there's nothing like being your own boss. And I'm just extremely ecstatic for my wife and for us that she's an entrepreneur, and she's starting a business about something she's devoted to, that she loves doing, and that she loves promoting. So with that, we want to promote books of color, and that's not, just African American or Black. I mean, any color. As indigenous natives, Asian Indian, African, we want to promote people of color and, their culture, what their lives are like, or just, experiences, or, I'm a avid reader of comic books and graphic novels. I think it'd be kind of cool to read a book about a comic, that's based off of natives of Antarctica, or indigenous natives. I mean, just something different, that's not always the narrative, the normal narrative. And with that, I hope that my kids see what, me and my wife are doing, that they understand the finances behind it, that they understand the business, and that, while, we're not necessarily doing this for money, like I said, we just want to promote, peoples of color books. But if we can leave something for them, to sustain them, when we're gone, or to teach their children, hey, this is how you start a business. This is how you start a business plan. This is how you make connections to get the resources to start your business. And, maybe they can pass that on to their kids. At the very least, I'm hoping that, we can just get them some money for after high school, whether that's a 4-year or more degree or something vocational, but just having a way of gaining income, and not having to work so hard to do that. Where your money makes money for you. Maybe they can invest this money and make money from it. But that's what we want. We just want to show them, like, hey, if you want to start a business, you can do it. You can do it now. These are the steps to do it. We'll get you in contact with people who can help you start that business, and you can do something with it in the future, whatever that is that you want to do. That's a gift that we want to leave them.
Yeah, and just to piggyback, I think to put it all in perspective, I remember when I gave my father the first book that we published, our son Jeremiah, and my father held the book in his hand, and he said, my grandmother could not read and write, but my grandson wrote a book and it's published. And so if you just see, that's just a few generations, but that's like the reality for Black people in this country, is that, it's like it's taking generations for us to even get ahead and to make these milestones. And so we're hoping with our children and our grandchildren that they're even going further with this. And because of that, we have everything to a high standard when it comes down to the book design, the cover design, having an editor, someone that does the copy on the back of the book that tells you what the book description is, bringing in high quality illustrators, making sure the book is registered with the Library of Congress. Both of our books will soon be in the Indianapolis Public Library. So doing all those pieces, going and getting the copyright. So like James, a few weeks ago, he was able to get his copyright in the mail to his book. So we take this very seriously every single step of the way. We're crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, because we want to not only just put more books out there, but we want them to be high quality books. And the last thing I'll say, next week, our books will officially be on the Lexile website. If you don't know what Lexile is, it's a leveling system that tells you what level of book is that. And if you're a teacher, that's something very important. We're also working with Fontes and Pinnell to get an F&P label. But now our company is considered a Lexile's partner company. And so all our books will go through that process. And so our hope is to even have teacher guides to go with our books, so we can market these to classrooms to say, hey, not only do we have a book where the authors of color, the characters of color, we can also tell you which students this book may be best for if you're trying to get a student at a certain level to move to another level. And so that's my teacher brain that brought that in. But when I said that to teachers, and when I go to places and present professional development to teachers, those are some of the things that teachers ask about. So I'm thinking about all those aspects. So hopefully this video was informative. It told you a little bit about myself and my husband, and tells you about the mission of our company. But our goal, like we said, is to bring diverse books to all readers. If you have any questions, you can hop on to barnesbrothersbooks.com and go to our contact page and send us your questions. We look forward to hearing from you.